Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. How are you all? It's lovely to see you. Welcome to Ask the Cheeseman, episode number, 88 of all things. That's getting up there with the big boys. So lovely to see so many people on at the moment. I think we've got 41 watching, which is absolutely fantastic. And just some hellos to everybody. G'day to Mon, Rima, Hafsa, I think that's how you pronounce it. Kim, good morning to you. Thank you very much for being the moderator this morning. Joy, Crumb, Paul, Michael, Kevin, Dusko, Adarim, Osvaldo, Larry, Malcolm, Kevin, Bruce, so many, John, Cassandra, Steve, Sean, Rocky, Bruce again, and ex-PFC Wintergreen. Well, that's a lovely combination of people. I dare say there's probably heaps more people that haven't, don't. Oh, Kim's putting some links in there. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe people have asked a question. But yeah, anyway, bit of housekeeping. There's no new patrons or members this week, but thank you so much to all the people that support me financially, other than ads, of course, on Patreon and YouTube memberships. I really do appreciate you taking the time to support me, which is really good. It keeps the show going. There was no video last week, which was a bit of a surprise to all of us. I have all the footage ready to finish editing on saffron infused cheese, so that'll be the next video. That'll go up this weekend. But I spent a 3-day long weekend basically writing my next book. So just a little bit of progress. The book title is, and I've firmed it up, it's Keep Calm and Make More Cheese, which is, play on words from the first one, of course. And I'm up to 130 pages. There's 29,440 words so far. And there's going to be 52 recipes in total. And I've got 8 more to write. And I've got to finish off a troubleshooting guide. So that's currently where I'm at with the book. Then once all the writing's done, obviously I have to get it edited and all that sort of stuff. So we'll go from there. Now, don't forget that the chat is fairly hectic as far as questions go. And if you really want to get your question answered, don't forget to use Super Chat. It's the little $sign down the bottom of the chat box. And special things will happen as well. So, yeah, don't forget, if you want your question answered, your burning question, then don't forget to use Super Chat. Alrighty. First question of the day is from, where is it? All the way back to before the show. It was from Rima, and it was in French. So let me just translate it. It says, I would like to know why the Caciocavallo remains yellow and does not go mouldy. Good question. The Caciocavallo didn't go mouldy and stayed yellow because it wasn't in a humid condition. So when I hung it in the kitchen, the humidity was fairly low. It was about 50%, sometimes lower, because it's fairly hot here in Australia. And because it grew its rind really fast, and natural oils seeped out of the cheese, it provided a protective coating, so it didn't have any mold on it whatsoever. So that's not a bad thing. So that's all good. So second question, let me find it. Where are we? John says, when am I going to smoke some cheese? Yeah, that old chestnut. I will get around to it. Very busy man. But yeah, it's on my list of things to do, as is so many things. Anyway, Cassandra says, hello. I really want to know where I can buy things so I can make stuff, make some homemade cheese. Can you please give me a link where I can buy the stuff? And, oh, that's why Kim put the link in. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you, Cassandra, for asking the question. Steve, g'day, mate. Sean says, hello from a very cold Indiana, -10 Fahrenheit. Well, on contrast to that, today it's going to be 37 degrees Celsius here. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very warm. Okay. Rocky says, Gavin, have you ever made baby Swiss before? Is it available? Is it always made with mesophilic culture? Most Swiss cheeses or Alpine cheeses are made with thermophilic cultures. So you would basically just scale down either, what's a good example? Yeah. Emmentaler is a good example. So the Emmentaler type recipe that I made and released it ages ago, if you halved that, you would get a baby Swiss, basically. Bruce says, you're looking happy. Yeah, well, I'm happy because I'm here, guys and girls and curd nerds and curd nerdettes. Another question. Here we go. Negro Parakeet Pero. I think that's how you say it. Hi, Gavin. I recently ordered a compression spring from Little Green Workshops, and it's really improved my results to be able to better estimate my pressure ratings. Thanks, mate. No problems. Those springs are really cool. And for those who haven't seen the springs before, I don't have one in front of me, but I use it on all of the cheese videos. So it's a 50-pound compression spring. And when it's fully closed, it applies 50 pounds of pressure to a follower plate that is between 4 and 6 inches. It's very rough, but it works well. Okay, Gabriel says, hey, Gavin, I live here in Brazil. It is easy to get raw milk right from the cow. Are there any additional steps that I have to do to make cheese? Well, raw milk's where it all started, really. If you are unsure about the cleanliness or the hygiene of the milk, then I highly recommend that you strain it through some butter muslin first and then pasteurize it. And I've got a pasteurization video on the channel somewhere, just how to home pasteurize, and that'll kill off all of the bad bacteria. You can omit the calcium chloride that I use in all recipes if you're using raw milk. Also, you can use a little bit less rennet. You won't need as much rennet. And a little bit, I mean about 10% less. So that's what you can do if you have raw milk, which is fantastic. Jacobs from Norway, g'day, mate. Lacracia, hello. Jason says, I'm using fresh raw milk from our Jerseys. Butter fat is ranging between 4.5 and 5.2. That's fantastic. It's a great, you'll get great yield out of that if you use it for cheese. Ricky says, hello, and too sweet. Kim and Gavin, g'day, Ricky. John, hello from Vicksburg. It's currently 5 Fahrenheit, and we're expecting -48 this week. It's rather chilly. Evelyn says, hello, wondering if once you get your milk to target temperature, do you turn off the heat? Also, how do you recommend to gradually heat the milk, like when its recipe recommends you heat over an hour? Two good questions. When you get the milk to the target temperature, I always turn the heat off. Now, remembering, I don't have the pot directly on the stove. I have another pot underneath, and I have probably about 2 inches or 5 centimeters of water in that little pot, and it creates steam. and it's the steam that's heating up the milk. So as soon as you turn the heat off on that, a little bit of steam's generated and it keeps the milk warm. So turn the heat off when you get to your target temperature. To heat gradually, I just put the heat on the lowest setting that I can, and it gradually heats up. And then if it starts to creep up a little bit too high, just turn the heat off completely, and you just have to adjust it as you go through. Now, if you have trouble with all that heating and pot stuff and all that, then get yourself a sous vide, which is just a stick with a heating element in it, and you put that into a large container, either your sink or something like that, and then put your milk pot into the sink with water around it, and it'll heat the water up to whatever temperature you set on the sous vide, and it'll keep it there. Also, when you're heating up over a period of an hour, you can click the temperature up every 5 minutes or so, and it'll heat the water up and therefore heat the milk up. So there's some good suggestions there, Evelyn. Mrs. Saving Grace, thank you for all your amazing videos. Thank you very much. And XPFC Wintergreen, thanks, Gavin and Kim. Thank you, mate. Jason says, what will be the optimal cheeses for this amount of butter fat? Any cheese that uses full cream or whole milk. That's the answer to that one. Where am I up to? I lost my place. Yeah, so Jason, that's the answer. Any cheese that uses full cream or whole milk. So, okay. Daniel says, hi Gav, I follow your videos all the time, made a few of your cheeses. My question will be, what can I replace the lipase in the cheese if I don't have it? Always a good question, that one. Because cow's milk doesn't have very much lipase in it after pasteurization. Before pasteurization, it has some naturally occurring in it. Use goat's milk to get the same sort of flavor. So add, if it's a cow's milk recipe, then take away 20% of that and add 20% of goat's milk, and you'll find you'll get that piquant flavor for those longer aged cheeses, because there's more naturally occurring lipase in goat's milk. Steve says, cheese quiz. How does one make Welsh miner's cheese? And the answer is very carefully. Or Caerphilly. Right, depends on how you say it. Nice. I like that one, Steve. Lacrecia says, I'm English and on holiday in Malta. Love your vids. Thank you very much. Kevin, the same way like other Steve cheese. Cheese Steve. Right, okay. Claudio, great news on the book. Can't wait. Thank you, Claudio. I was just going to put a question out there. And I've seen some people do this, if I set the book up for pre-orders, would anybody be interested? So if I pre-sold the book, I've probably got about a month to go before it's finished. So I'm going to put well, I'm thinking of doing anyway, but I'll see what your response is. So I'm thinking of doing a pre-order. So a lot of people do it. And that way you'll be the first cab off the rank soon as the book's published, and I'll shoot through the ebook to you if you paid up front. That's cool. Paul says, hi Gavin, I made a parmesan using our recipe. I took my eye off the temperature and the curds reached 54 degrees. Is it ruined? Not with the thermophilic culture. If it's only I think it's only 2 degrees over the target temperature anyway at the end, I don't think it'll be ruined. Just persist, it'll work out okay. Jared says, hi Gavin, g'day from Colorado. G'day, mate. Mitchie, my parmesan 5 weeks old starts to buckle in the middle and gets mold on the outside. I wash the mold with brine, but what about the buckling? Has become about quarter thicker in the middle. Oh, so bulging. Okay, Mitchy. What that probably is, it depends on the cultures you've used, the types of cultures. They could be gas producing, so it could be producing some gas, and you may have some eye development happening that you probably don't want. Um, the mold, it gets mold on it. That's all there is to it. And you will have to wash it off with the brine solution. What they do in Italy with the Parmesan, they have robots that actually clean the cheese every single day. So that's what happens. You get mold on it. Bransford says, I've been wondering about the heat as well. When you go up in temperature and add rennet, do you have a flame out? What? When you get, do you, what? What do you do a flame out? Do I turn the heat off? Yes, I turn the heat off. Yeah, cool. God, I'm only 6 minutes into it and I've been going for a quarter of an hour. Right. Dwayne says, hello, Dwayne. Hasfa says, Mr. Gavin, I am sorry. I think I don't comprehend English. Sorry, mate. That's the only language I speak. So, yeah, unfortunate. Google Translate, or wait until the replay, and this will be auto-translated, and you should be able to translate into French from auto-translate. Patricia, hello, Patricia. Patricia's one of my patrons. Thank you very much. What is your preferred method for keeping curds warm during cheddaring and milling? Okay, so there's a couple of ways I do that. So when I do the cheddaring, put the curds into the pot slab, and then I'll place it back on top of the little steam pot that I have, and that keeps it warm. So that's one way. Another way that I do it is because I've got two sinks, and you've probably seen that in the videos. The smaller sink, what I do is fill that up with warm tap water, and then I just sit the pot on that, and that keeps the cheddaring process warm. So that's how I do it. Two ways, one with water and one with the steam pot. Paul says, I think it should have been 52. Yeah, so 2 degrees is not going to kill it. It's going to be fine. Picture Perfect says, I'm having a heck of a time making mozzarella lately. I'm doing the quick recipe, and the curd isn't setting very well at all. I can still work with it and stretch it, but the final product is S. Probably meaning crappy. But, yeah, look, quick mozzarella, if you don't get the acidity right and all that sort of stuff, it is a pain in the bottom. I would highly recommend that you try traditional mozzarella made with cow's milk if you want a better result. I certainly was shocked and amazed by the difference in texture between quick mozzarella and the real mozzarella, which was made with starter cultures. So try that out. There's not much I can do to troubleshoot quick mozzarella because I really have to be there to see what you're doing. Or make a video of it. Rudy says, yay, the Cheeseman. I love your video. Thanks, Rudy. Dominique, who's a member, thank you, Dominique, says, good morning, Gavin. How do you clean cheese wax after removing from the cheese if you have any cheese attached to it? Another great question. Great questions this week. So what I basically do, I take the wax off the cheese, as you do, and if there's any bits stuck on it, what I do is I soak the wax in warm water from the tap, and that dissolves most of the cheese off, and I get all that off. So then under the water, I've got a little soft brush, so a little nail brush, really soft one, which is not used for my nails, it's just used for cheese, and I just basically lightly scrub the wax. Not so hard that it actually puts wax in the bristles of the brush, but it gets the cheese off. And then I just pop it back into my wax pot and then melt it the next time I wax the cheese. I'm going to translate this name. Sorry. Can't remember. Oh, Mayor. Oh, Mayor again. G'day, mate. Hey, Gavin, you're the best. Thank you very much. Hasfa says something, questions in French. Hang on, I'll just translate that too. By the way, I'm not going to translate everything. It really does slow down the show. What's he says? Hafsa says, I have questions to ask you, but Hasfa, what you need to do is shoot me an email in French. I'll Google Translate it, read it in English, and then translate it to French and send you the answers. There you go. That's the best way I can do it. And you'll find my email address if you go to the channel and go to the About tab somewhere on the channel. You have to go back to the channel page, and there will be the email address to send me a question. David says, hey, Gavin, do you have any experience with Swedish cheeses? No, I don't have any experience with Swedish cheeses, but I can do some research and find out what they are. I'll have a look. I dare say there's a range of them. Kevin says, 2 degrees is okay. Pitch perfect. Stored mozzarella looks like it's melting together and has a cream cheese texture. Help, what do I do? Calcium chloride. Look, stored mozzarella, when you do quick mozzarella, does do that. It goes flat. That's just the structure of it. It does not keep like normal mozzarella. That's just the way it is. It does. It just all melts together. All the balls melt together. It goes flat. You got to eat it within 2 days, or that's what happens. So it's nothing you're doing wrong. That's just what it is. So like I said, highly recommend make normal traditional mozzarella, which will take you a little bit of time. Catherine says, hi, Gavin, what factors like temperature and humidity are important to control in your cheese cave? Well, you hit the nail on the head. Temperature and humidity are the 2 factors that you need to control. So with the cheese fridge, temperature is easy enough to control with an external thermostat. That's just using a normal small bar fridge or a dorm fridge or whatever you guys call it. But humidity is the hardest thing to control. So you can either have a humidifier in there and create a high humidity, but the problem there will be is you'll need to clean your fridge out just about every week because mold growth will build up on the sides of your fridge and on your cheese and every cheese in the cheese cave. The best way to control the humidity is using ripening boxes. That's in my experience anyway. So just make sure there's a mat in the ripening box. Keep the cheese off of any expelled whey that there is. And it's that expelled whey that comes out of the cheese that actually creates the humidity in the box, because you'll see on the lid, you'll see moisture sitting on top underneath the lid, and that's a good indication it's fairly high humidity in your ripening box. Yeah, Catherine, hopefully I answered your question. Drill On says, hi from Tetova. Oh, Tetova. Yeah, Tetova. Oh, thank you very much. John says, so I made some lactose-free Buttermilk, and when I vacuum packed it, it kind of blew up like a balloon. So I decided to mature in the regular fridge, and the swelling went down. Aged it, and it's great. That's fantastic, John. Now, the blowing up like a balloon bit depends on the cultures you used. You may have had some gas-producing cultures in there. Could have. Or as long as it didn't have a whole bunch of little holes that look like a sponge, which means it's early blown and it's been infected by coliform, which is a bacteria in milk that sometimes appears when the cows have mastitis. It should have been right to go, and if it's tasting you're still alive, then it's all fine. First Dimension Film says, where is the best place to get some store-bought Brie? I think you've answered your question, mate. The store. Any store. Go to a cheesemonger. They have the best cheeses, honestly. Unless you make them yourself, of course. Okay. I've lost my spot again. Happens often in the show because every time I scroll down, it just goes and the whole list goes up, because what you're seeing on the screen there is current. What I'm seeing is 20 minutes, 20 minutes later. Okay. Rocky says, "Hi Gavin, Baby Swiss is an American version of Swiss cheese created in the 1960s. All the recipes I found use mesophilic and are washed curd." Oh, okay. All right, I'll have a look. I'll see if I can find anything different. Baby Swiss. I'll check, Rocky, and see what we can find. Kevin says, "No worries, Paul. I learned once to be a professional cheese something." Okay, Paul and Kevin having a great time there. Ricky, have I ever done a herb or nut crusted cheese? Indeed, I have. And if you go and check out my festive cheese ball video, you will see a lovely cream cheese that has been encrusted with herbs and spices and nuts on the outside and all sorts of stuff, and it was blooming amazing. So, a great little cheese. Evelyn says, "Thank you very much." Kevin and Paul having a chat. Zammy, g'day Zammy. G'day Gavin, hope you're doing well. I'm doing fine, thanks Zammy. Sean, why is my mozzarella not stretching? I've tried everything 10 times over. It always comes out like ricotta. Use different brands as well. Don't know. Not enough information, unfortunately. Some of the things, it sounds like if it comes out like ricotta, either you're not using enough rennet to actually get a solid curd, a firm curd to start with, because that's one of the secrets, and maybe not enough citric acid. Is the acidity really has to be between a pH of 5.3 and 5.0 before the cheese will stretch. So there's a couple of suggestions anyway. Pitch Perfect says, "Do you need to use starter cultures with raw milk?" Well, it depends on the type of cheese you're aiming to make. So if you want to make a farmhouse cheese, which could be, it's an assortment of any cheese, farmhouse cheese, there are lactobacteria already in the raw milk. So being a purist, you wouldn't need to add any starter cultures into the cheese. However, if you're trying to make a specific type of cheese, then yes, you can add starter cultures and ripening molds and all that sort of stuff to your cheese to get a specific style of cheese. So hopefully that answers your question. Ohio Ladybug says, "Hi Gavin, I've only made ricotta. What equipment should I purchase to make cheddar? We really love a sharp cheddar." So some suggestions if you want to do it the easy way. And the easy way is always the best. Go and grab yourself a hard cheese kit and a cheese press, and you'll be able to make cheddar plus about 9 other cheeses as well. And you should be fairly successful. Just use my cheddar recipe. That's all the equipment. You'll probably need a stainless steel pot, a stirring spoon, but most of the other stuff's in the kit, like the thermometer, the cheesecloth, and all that sort of stuff. So, so if Kim could put the link up to the, you've probably already done it, maybe. No, if she can put the link up to the hard cheese kit, that would be fantastic. Thank you, darling. Okay, so back to the questions. Sam says, "G'day, Gavin. Does Little Green Workshop ship to Ontario, Canada? Sincerely, an aspiring curd nerd." Yes, indeed we do. In fact, yesterday we shipped out 8 international orders all over the world, from Norway all the way to Canada, US, UK, Denmark. Oh, goodness me, where else? Well, that'll do. But yeah, lots. And I think 2 or 3 to Canada. So yeah, definitely we do ship to Ontario, mate. And we've got some answers back for the pre-order. We've got lots of yes that people would pre-order. So that's fantastic. So what I'll do, I'll have a think about it today anyway. as I've got some time to do the book. But I can put up a sales page, and in the I can put the link in the my channel community tab. So often, if you're using the YouTube app on iOS or Android, you'll see there's a community page, and in the feed, you'll get notes from me. You know, I put up pictures and stuff like that. So I do put a lot more content up than just these videos. So there's sometimes polls, stuff like that. So I can put links and all sorts of good stuff in there. So I can do the pre-order thing there. So that would be cool. Okay, Dusko says, hello again. I used raw milk yesterday, obtained from my friend. The amount of rennet I used with pasteurised milk did not start coagulation, so I need to double it. What would be the reason? Oh, good question. So, remember that pasteurised milk that you buy from the store is standardised. So it has standardised fat content, standardised proteins, everything's standard. They do something to it. With raw milk, it depends on where you are in the lactation cycle of the cow. So up the front, you'll get more milk fat and it'll set a better curd. Right near the end of the lactation cycle, it sets not as good a curd. So when using raw milk, there are some caveats, obviously, to using it. So do a bit of research. That's what I did. Just simply Googled it around lactation cycles, and you'll find that the milk is better at the start of the lactation cycle than at the end, and it sets better. Okay, lots more people saying pre-order. That's fantastic. Thank you, Claudio. Jacob says, have I tried brown cheese, my sauce? Yes, indeed, I made some. There's a video on it, and it tastes quite nice. It's got a slight sweetness to it, which is from the lactose still remaining in the whey. And spreading on toast, it was very nice. I liked it. Don't know if I eat it all the time, but I have enough whey around here. I can make my sauce, or my oast, I think that's how you pronounce it, all the time. And Vizio says, possibly need some calcium chloride, Dusko. Yeah, indeed. When you don't know the quality of the milk and where it is in the lactation cycle, add calcium chloride. It doesn't hurt. Calcium chloride is in just about every cheese that you eat. It's in such a minute amount they don't even list it. So, okay. Time check. We've got 27 minutes to go. And I'm up to timestamp 9:46. So if you want your question answered, I highly recommend shoot it to me in a super chat. Kevin says, no calcium chloride raw milk needed. Sometimes there is. When you use goat's milk, raw, for instance, I definitely would add calcium chloride all the time. Same as sheep's milk. So you don't discount that you don't need calcium chloride for raw milk, even though I probably said that just before. Okay. Mr. who have we got here? Aga. Hi, Gavin. Nothing to report today. Thanks, mate. And I really do. I'd like to say to Aga, and if you check out his channel, you'll see a couple of fan films there. Very good. The first one was fantastic. It had me in fits of laughter. It was really good. Thanks, mate. Mr. Borbag says, hello from Bonnie Scotland again. That was my best Scottish accent, by the way. In fact, I am descended from Scots as well on my mother's side. Campbell's. There you go. Wish you all the best for 2019. Thanks, mate. Rudy says, is there such thing as a lactose-intolerant cheese? Huh? How about a lactose-free cheese? Maybe? Cheese isn't lactose intolerant. It loves lactose. I'm not sure, but was wondering. Yeah, Rudy, I have a couple of recipes for lactose-free cheeses. One being mozzarella and the other one being kefili that I made. So they're on the channel. Just go to the channel page and there's a little search bar and you can search for different types of cheese. Just put in lactose-free and then you'll get a couple of recipes Sorry for laughing, but it was just the way you wrote it. Okay. XOX. How are you doing, Cheeseman? How are my health issues? Very good, thank you. And thanks for asking. Since I got my CPAP machine, I've been sleeping so well. And I wake up in the morning, my head's clear, headaches are just about gone. I do have some occasionally, but not very often. I think I'm feeling good. So that's probably why I'm so happy all the time. There you go. PVA Caesar says, "G'day, Gavin. Best wishes from San Francisco. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much." Kevin, hey, Gav, I have a serious cross-contamination problem in that all my cheeses are turning red due to Brevibacterium linens, and they are in separate maturation boxes. Why? Brevibacterium linens loves moisture, so maybe the humidity in your cheese boxes are too high. Maybe there's sanitation issue. So what I would do in the cheese boxes is I would use a weak bleach solution. So that's 2 litres of water to 20 millilitres of bleach, just normal bleach, nothing with flavours or smells in it, just normal bleach. And I would then soak your, or make lots of it. That's just the ratio. Make lots of it and put your maturation boxes in there, not with the cheese in, but, when you're cleaning them. And hopefully that'll kill off all the bacteria, because the bacteria lurks in scratches in plastic and on the mats and all that sort of stuff. And because you can't boil the maturation boxes, the best way to clean them out is using a bleach solution. So you may have to resort to that. Also, in your cheese fridge, there may be a contamination issue as well. Kevin, you may need to break out the vinegar bottle, take all the cheese out, spray everything, clean it off with a clean cloth, and hopefully that'll dampen down some of the mold that is growing in your cheese fridge as well. But like I said, Brevibacterium linens loves moist cheese, or wet. It loves moisture. That's why when you wash the cheeses, you get a spread. Now, it could be different molds. There are pink molds as well, which kind of look a little bit like Brevibacterium linens, but they aren't. I don't have the name of it here off the top of my head, but and that could be a contamination issue as well. So you're going to have to super sanitize everything, mate, unfortunately. Christo says, "Can I replace 1 packet of buttermilk culture with 1/4 cup of fresh buttermilk?" Yes, you can, if it's cultured buttermilk. So there's 2 things. There's buttermilk that comes from butter when you make butter, and that's not cultured at all. That's just water, excess water. And then there's buttermilk that's in a carton. They make it. It's a cultured. It's cultured milk. Basically, it's just a little bit thicker, taste tartier. Yes, if you use that cultured buttermilk, then you should have no problems. In fact, when I made my triple pepper jack, I used buttermilk, and you would have seen that. I used a full cup for which is 250 milliliters. So 1 cup of buttermilk to 10 litres of milk, and that worked fine. So, Kevin, trust me, Vizzo, that's one of the reasons we made raw milk cheeses in Switzerland. Nothing artificial needed. That's correct. Okay, let me get to another question. Nick says, sorry, Nick. Gavin, I love sharp cheeses. What is the easiest to start with? Well, sharpness, there's nothing easy about anything, but a sharpness comes with age. So the longer you age your cheese, the sharper it becomes, or stronger in flavour it becomes. Sharper cheeses from, say, the Cheddar family or the hard Italian cheese family are probably the best. And you're talking 10 months before you start getting that sharpness that you want in cheese. Or make a, let me think, make one of the harder cheeses, like make a farmhouse cheddar. Use my farmhouse cheddar recipe. So like the farmhouse cheddar blue, and just don't put the blue in it. And use goat's milk, and you will get a very sharp cheese. Very, well, not goaty. That's not the right word, but you'll get a very high lipase kick out of that piquant flavour. So make farmhouse cheddar with goat's milk, and yeah, so that's a suggestion anyway. Kevin says, what's the difference between the numbers on the culture, MO30, MM100? Also, the difference in type between thermophilic type B or C. I could do a whole podcast or episode on just that. Starter cultures, they're just numbers that the manufacturers put on them. Okay, so there's nothing special about the numbers. It's just nomenclature that each manufacturer has for their different types of starter cultures. They don't mean anything. Usually the M at the start means mesophilic, T means thermophilic. Between type B and type C, they're different strains of thermophilic cultures. I think in type B there are 2 strains, Streptococcus thermophilus and LH, what's that? Lactobacillus lactis helvetica. So that's what's in type B. Type C have 2 more thermophilic cultures, so it's a different strain. They're all different strains. There is a video that I did on starter cultures, but if you do the Curd Nerd Academy course, there's actually a whole guide on different starter cultures and the different types of bacteria that are in the different starter cultures. So that's just one of the lessons. So John says, hello Gavin from Michigan. I've made many different kinds of cheese, but this coming weekend will be my first attempt at a blue cheese. Any tips? Besides patience, John, my biggest tip is to make sure that the curds have been stirred enough that they don't completely knit together, so there's some air pockets in them. So if you look at how I made the Stilton cheese, you'll see that as the cheese settles in the hoop, there are like chunks or blocks, and that way there are air gaps. So when you pierce the cheese, you get some good mold growth through them. Also, I highly recommend using starter culture in that cheese that has a little bit of gas production. And you'll be able to see that on the page you bought the culture from, whether it has gas production. Because gas production creates gaps or holes in the cheese. And when you do the stabby effect, the blue mold grows. Just make sure you get enough oxygen to the center of the cheese by using the needles and stuff. Oh, looks like we got a super chat. Chris B, thank you very much, mate. Let me just turn that beastie off. Oh, not my computer. Goodness me, I nearly turned the wrong thing off. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate it. Is there a question that goes with it? Yes, there is. Hi, Gavin. Is there a way to estimate the size pressing basket needed for given milk and the potential yield? Yeah, look, most recipes will say what the yield is, Chris, whether that be like 10%. So a fairly good estimate is if you use 10 litres of milk, then you'll get about, depending on the cheese, of course, harder the cheese, the less yield, because the smaller the curd. So the larger the curd, the higher the yield cheese you're going to get. So let me think. So for 10 litres, you'll get about 1 kilogram of cheese, which fits into the 165 millimetre basket. If you're using just 8 litres of milk, it's probably best to go down a size to something like 165 millimetre. 145, which is 5 inches across. Goes a little bit smaller. When you're using, say, 8 litres of milk to make camemberts, you'll need at least 4 camembert hoops. There's no formula. It's just the yield that you'll get from the milk. So the higher the The softer cheeses, you usually get about a 15 to 20% yield. The semi-hard cheddar-y type cheeses, you get about a 10% yield. And for Italian hard cheeses, depending on the type of milk you're using, whether it be skim milk or full cream milk, you'll get about an 8% yield from that. So you'll have to figure out then, just equate litres to kilograms and go from there. So hopefully that has answered your question, Chris. It's a good one too. Okay, back to the other ones. Let me see if I can find my spot. Okay, Dominic was the next question, and said, "Did you ever heard from Cleaver salami cabinet they're making their Australian cave to cure salami? Do you think that'd be good for cheese? Can you mature cheese with salami in the same cheese cave?" Dominic, no, unfortunately you can't mature a salami and cheese in the same cabinet because you'll get cross-contamination. There are natural bacteria in meat as well. However, having said that, you'll see that some salamis have a white mold on the outside. That's Penicillium candidum, which comes from cheese. It's natural in the air anyway. But yeah, don't cross the two in the same cabinet, but you can use a salami cabinet to keep the temperature at, say, 13 degrees Celsius and mature your cheese. So that will be fine. Unfortunately, not the same cabinet at the same time. Marcia says, "Greeting curd nerds. What a perfect way to start my day. Sitting here watching while eating my own fresh Bruce cheese and berries for breakfast. Bring on the learning." Thank you, Marcia. Bruce says, "Yes, you should do pre-orders." Thank you. Patricia says, "I have a tiny wine fridge for my cheese, so no room for ripening boxes. Raised humidity in the fridge with a damp cloth hung inside the door and took out when the humidity was 85. I hope there's no mold." It should, look, Patricia, there's lots of ways to do it. What I used to do, I had a wine fridge, same as what you have. And I found that it keeps things dry in there. That's what wine fridges do. It's got a little fan that extracts all the humidity out. So I used to have to get a 4-litre or 1-gallon ice cream container, fill that with water, put a big sponge in it as well, and that kept the humidity up when I didn't have any room for ripening boxes. But as you said, you can put a damp cloth or a towel or anything in the bottom. But remember, all moisture creates mold. So just be careful and make sure there's no mold growth or build up on the walls of the fridge and that sort of stuff. Okie Native, I think that's how you say it, Okie Native. "Do you have a preference between paraffin and beeswax for coating cheese? I know people do both, but why? But know why they do it." Yeah, good question. So beeswax does have some paraffin. Sorry, not beeswax. So waxing cheese. So there is a specially formulated wax which is malleable and soft, and you can use it to coat your cheese. So you can buy that at all good cheese making shops like ours. It has some paraffin in it and microcrystalline wax, and that tends to be softer. If you use straight paraffin, it's hard and brittle, and your cheese, it tends to crack and you'll get mold in your cheese. Same for beeswax. When beeswax dries, it's fairly hard as well. You can use beeswax. It's just really expensive unless you've got your own beehives, and you can get the wax readily yourself. So, and some people who let me think. So some people who tend not to use beeswax for ethical reasons because they don't want to rob the bees of it or whatever. But anyway, yeah, so normal cheese wax that has been manufactured for that purpose is the best to use. Okay. Nick says, "G'day from London," and I'm just conscious of the time. There's 11 minutes to go. Kevin said he made a tiramisu at a homemade mascarpone, and it is excellent. Well done. It does taste very nice, Kevin. Leave It to Beavers says, "Did you try to make lactose-free cheese with something like blue cheese or cheddar? No. And the reason is that because the lactose isn't present, the lactic bacteria tend to convert the glucose and the galactose into alcohol, which is strange, I know, but I discovered when I made my lactose-free Caerphilly cheese, which I aged for 3 weeks, it did start to taste a little bit winey or alcohol-y. So I would say that any cheese aged longer than the 3 weeks would tend to become rather sour, vinegary. So I wouldn't recommend lactose-free milk for any cheeses that are long aged. Just stick to your normal milk, unfortunately. Mitchie says, hi, Gavin. I use the following bacteria for my Parmesan: Danisco Choose It LH100 and Danisco TA60. Is that the reason for the bloat? Many thanks. Without doing any further research, Mitchie, I wouldn't know. But could you shoot that to me in an email and I can troubleshoot that for you, mate? Or just pop over to littlegreencheese.com and fill in the comments form and contact me form, and I'll answer it there. Kevin says, when using rennet tablets, how much is equivalent to half a teaspoon of liquid rennet? Kevin, it depends on the brand of the rennet tablets. If you're using Fromage 50, which we stock, then each tablet can coagulate 50 litres of milk. So if you're going to use, say, 10 litres, 10 to 12 litres, then a quarter of the tablet is fine, which would equate to about half a teaspoon of liquid rennet. If you're using, say, Mad Millie tablets, then, and you're using 10 litres of milk, I think you need 2.5 tablets to make equivalent to half a teaspoon of liquid single strength rennet. So there you go. And there's the link that I asked for Kim. So that's fantastic. I'm 19 minutes behind, guys. Chance says, Rivers here from South Carolina, looking forward to getting into cheese making. Would Brie be difficult at first? Indeed it is. You need a bit of a grip on how to make cheese first before you get into, say, making Brie. However, with that said, look, I've seen people make Camembert and Brie for the first cheese, and it turned out okay. However, if you run into any trouble during that process, you don't know how to correct it. So that's could be half the problem. Maybe start off with a harder cheese first, one of the simple hard cheeses. So yeah, Chance, try that. Idaho Ladybug, bye. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you very much. Austin, just want to say hello. Thanks for all the videos and expertise you bring to us. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it. And you give me the confidence to start making my own. I've just noticed a little counter on my page there. Looks like it's stuck at 41 when there's over 70 people watching. So that's weird. Picture Perfect, thanks for your time and knowledge, sir. I never knew how calming and fun cheese making is until I stumbled upon your channel 6 months ago. My wallet may not be appreciative, but I am. Yeah, so I thank you very much, Mr. Picture Perfect, or Mrs. Yeah, cheese making is so much fun. That's why I do it every week. You know, I love doing it. I got 3 or 4 cheeses on the go at the moment. And just nursing a cam blue through the mold process at the moment, so I'm capturing that as well. But it's just great fun. I just love making the cheese and then recording them and making the videos to show you guys how to make the cheese and go and make it, which is great. Kim says, yes, Gavin is running behind, so if you really want a question, use a super chat, definitely. He Quay, I think that's how you say it. Good morning from Vietnam. Thanks, mate. Jordan, no questions here. Just want to say thanks for the amazing cheese vids that help me relax when it is needed. No props, Jordan. Happy to be the Bob Ross of cheese making. Vageco, just a question. When I stack wheels of raclette when it's ripening, or do they have to be further apart? Also, can I vac pack it when it's done? By the way, love your videos. Keep it up. Yeah, so when you're aging your raclette, they should be separate, and don't stack them on top of each other because they won't ripen properly and you'll get all sorts of weird formations in the cheese. So on a board, each separate, give it a, what's that, 6 inches apart, so they get enough air so they ripen properly. Can you vacuum pack them after they're done? Yeah, definitely. I've done that. No problems at all. Manel says, hi, Mr. Gavin. You made jalapeno cheddar. Do you think jalapeno isn't rotten when aging cheese? Well, I hope not. I hope it's not rotting. It's in vacuum packing. I won't know until I pull it out and actually eat it. Mitchie says, how do you measure the amount of bacteria cultures that are purchased mostly for 100 litres of milk or more? How can I find the right amount for 10 litres? Weighing is almost impossible. Yeah, it is. So I tend to use, here's my theory. So I tend to use 1/8 of a teaspoon of starter culture per 10 litres of milk. And you'll find most of those culture sachets for 100 litres will contain about 10 of that size. So you should be okay. Jeff C., my cheers, bro. G'day, mate. David says, good evening, Mr. Weber and chat. And Jeff, how we doing? Doing well. Julie says, hubby made me a cheese box today so I can do the Brie cheese. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you, Julie. David says, what's my most challenging cheese to make? Look, I think the mold ripened cheeses are more challenging than normal cheeses because that's the ripening part you really have to pay attention to, and sometimes that's where I fall down because, I don't get to the cheese cave every day like I should. So, yeah, it's the ripening part of mold ripened cheese which is the hardest, I find anyway. Oh, I'm at the bottom. How good's that? Where am I? Where am I? Sorry. Julie says, can you please do a successful cottage cheese, please? Look, I'm trying, honestly. I'll give it another go. Ismet says, hello, and I think it says best wishes from Serbia. G'day. Elizabeth said, how did I get into cheese making? How did I get into cheese making? It's actually a whole chapter of my first book. I got into cheese making because I grew up on a dairy and we didn't make cheese, and I wanted to make cheese, and by the time I turned about 35 or something, I really wanted to know where all of my food was coming from. So I'm sick of processed cheese. I wanted to know what was in real cheese and how to make it. So I went on a course, and since that day, I was bitten by the cheese bug and haven't stopped making it, and just learnt and learnt and learnt through experience and reading books and looking at videos, and then decided to make my own videos because I thought the videos out there were the crappiest ones I've ever seen. And that's not to say since there's been some really good ones, and there has been, because a lot of people are doing that as well. Anyway, Manel says, my country doesn't support Super Chat. Oh, that's sad. Sorry about that, Manel. And Kim's giving me the wind up. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching today. I appreciate there were some really great questions in there. So keep them coming week on week. I never get bored with them, especially even the same ones. I don't mind answering them because everybody is new, and that's why they come to the chat, to learn how to make cheese and all the tricky issues they have anyway. So don't forget to visit our online store if you're in the need for cheese making kits, supplies and equipment over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. And don't forget that if you want to support the show financially, there's a couple of ways you can do it. There's one by Patreon, and there's the Patreon link there. The other one is YouTube memberships, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen, somewhere under this, there'll be a join button. So you can join the memberships. I think it's $4.99 US a month, and you get some cool perks. Especially I can tell who you are in chat, which is great. Don't forget the merch. I'm actually wearing one of my brand new certified Curd Nerd t-shirts, and the mug with the cheesy cherry wisdom and Gav sitting in it, over at Teespring/store/Cheeseman TV. So you can pick up all your merch over there if you want it. Take care, everybody. Appreciate your time as always, and I better get to work and start packing some orders from all the people who bought cheese making stuff from us. All right, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.